Okay, looks like we're all set. First question you need to think about is that you tell sometimes the professors tell you that you need to submit a paper with 12-point font. What does that mean? How do we get the 12 point? In order to understand what does the 12 point mean, we need to look at some fundamentals of the autonomy. Now, when you are in grade school, you need to when you first learn how to write English letters, you need to write your letters on papers like this, right? There are 4 lines here. 4 line, we have a different name for those 4 lines. If you look at it here, the line that is on the bottom of the capitalized letters V and the small case letter A. So this line, anyone of you have any idea what it's called? It's called a baseline. That's called a baseline. So that's kind of like the fundamental line. And then, so, okay, again, here is the baseline. You will see that the G goes down below the baseline. And then here, this line on top of A, N, but in the middle of I, L, this line is called a midline. So you have baseline, you have a midline, and then on the top, this line is called a center line. And then the line below baseline is called a descent line. 12 point. When you see I'm using a 12-point font, that means if we put the letters into those 4 lines, the distance from the ascent line to the descent line, so this distance is 12 point. How much is 12 point? 12 point, you still remember that 12 point equals to 1 pica, right? How much is 1 pica? 6 pica equals to 1 inch. So 1 pica 12 point basically is 1/6 inch. And that's the distance from this ascent line to this descent line. The letters, you will look at it, it also has different terminologies here. The distance between, normally the distance between the midline and the baseline, that's the x hat. Because normally a x will reach the midline and it will sit on the baseline. So that distance is also called x hat. But sometimes in some typefaces, the x can go beyond the midline. So in that case, you will have a longer x hat. And then you will also have a cap hat. Cap hat is the hat for uppercase letters. Normally, that cap hat is the same for every letters in uppercase. You also have ascender and descender. So take a look at this again, just to remember the point. When we say the 12-point font, that means when you use that font, the distance from the ascent line to the descent line is 12 point. And in that case, again, do you still remember when you use 12-point font size, normally, automatically, what will be the leading value? Anybody still remember? What will be the auto leading value? We talk about you can set positive leading, negative leading, set solid, but there's also an automatic leading value. When you set positive, that means the leading value is larger than the point size, right? When you set a negative leading value, that means the leading value is smaller than the point size. When you set solid, that means the leading value equals to the point size. What is leading value, first of all? Yes. Okay. Remember, every line will have 4 lines, right? Every line of a letter will have those 4 lines. So for the upper line of a letter, you will have a center line, mean line, base line, and a descent line. And then if you let's say if you have another line of letter here, and then this line of letter will also have a center line, mean line, base line, descent line. So the leading value is the distance between the center line of the upper line of letter and the the descent line of the upper line of the letter and the ascent line of the lower line of letter. Does that make sense to you? Let's say if you have 2 lines of letters. So the leading value is, let's say if you have here is a line of letter, and here you have a line of letter, and then the leading value is the distance between the descent line of this line of letter and the ascent line of this line of letter. So this is the space between those 2 lines. That's the leading value. Automatically, the leading value will be 120% of the font size. So if you have 12 point of font size, then the automatic leading value would be 12 point times 120%. How much is that? Like a 14.4 or something like that. That would be the leading value. Okay, this answers the question, what does a 12-point font size means? I just get a catalog from a publishing house today. In the catalog, they recommended many books. I found at least 5 to 6 books talk about how you can use typography to create powerful designs. So that means if you do not understand color, that's fine. If you don't know how to draw a picture, that's fine. If you don't know how to work or edit with the photos, that's fine. As long as you understand how to arrange the typography, you can still be a great designer. So just the text can be very much powerful. But if you want to be really good at making a design with the text, you better understand those terms here. If you look at the textbook, it gives you some examples. What is a apex? What is a lag? What is a descender? We talked about the descender already. And I just give you some examples here for you to look at it. So those are the terms that you may want to understand if you really want to be good at using the text to design some projects. Those people who design logo with letters, if you think about it, you can find out many logos are purely designed with letters. Lamar University is an example, right? We look at Lamar University, it's just LU, 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 5 LUs, and put it into a star. You think about other logos, GE. That logo is purely designed by letters, right? A G and a E. What other examples? Microsoft and McDonald's, right? It's purely M. You may think of other logos, great logos that are purely made by letters. If you want to be an expert of using letters to design logo, I would say those things are the stuff that you want to understand. Sometimes you may be in a situation that a client give you something and want you to help them to design. And they want to use their previous logo. Let's say if Microsoft want to use their previous logo, and you don't know what typeface they use, how do you find out the typeface? Let me close this, and we can use the Microsoft. This is the Microsoft logo, is that right? Because there's R here. So let's say if you want to recreate this logo on your project. You can't copy it. Somehow you simply can't copy it. How do you tap it into your project? You need to find out what typeface they use here exactly, right? So you can find out the exact typeface. How do you find out the typeface? There is a website that can help you to find out the typeface. It's called Indentifont. So if you go to here, you can see that find a similar font. Find fonts that are similar in appearance to a specified font. That's the function we're going to use. Let me see. Fonts by appearance. So we need to answer those questions one by one. Eventually, this website can tell you what typeface, what font they use in this logo. The question would be, for example, is it a serif or sans serif? You look at this logo, tell me, is it a serif or sans serif? Sans serif. So we say, no, there's no serif. And then the next question is, if there's a Q, do we have a Q here? Not really. So we better to select the not sure, because there's no Q here. $, there's no $sign here. 4, there's no 4 here. M, yes, we have M here. And look at the M. Is this part on the baseline or is it above the baseline? Above, on the baseline, right? Clearly it's on the baseline. So on the baseline. And then IJK, do we have any IJK here? There's an I here. So, but this is the uppercase. So it would be different, right? So we are not sure about this. Is there a J here? Is a G? No, there's no G here. Microsoft, there's no G, so we're not sure about this. Not sure about this. There's no G. Question mark. Not sure. You can see it can be a tedious process. It can be a long process. You may need to answer 100 questions, but eventually, if you don't know what typeface they use here, I'm thinking they may be using Hacktivia here, but I don't know. Maybe not. But if you want to know, you can just answer those questions and eventually get an answer here. Okay, that's another thing that I want to tell you. Now let's open the InDesign, and we are going to talk about some more things. Document. Let's open a document. Yeah, just use the default setting. And then you can create a rectangular here. Use it as a text frame. And now let's activate the tab tool and change this rectangular as a text frame. Remember that anytime when you are creating something, you want to do it. This is a project you need to submit it in. Corey, you want to open the computer? Yes. Okay. Now we said that anytime when you create something and there's a stroke, the first thing you want to do is that you want to create an internal inset. How do you create an internal inset? What is the internal inset? Basically, is leaving some space around the strokes so that the text will not overlap with the stroke of this rectangle. Does that make sense to you? Do you still remember how to create an inset? You need to exercise the text frame tool. There are two ways for you to do it. The shortcut key for access text frame is Command B. So you can press Command B. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is if you do not want to remember the shortcut key, anytime you just press Control and then click the mouse, you will see a lot of commands here. Those are called the context command or context menu. And if you go down, you will see the text frame somewhere. Let's see, text frame option here, right? So you can click text frame option, and then give it a inset spacing. Let's say we're gonna give it a 0.25 inch. And now let's type some words to work on. And if you do not want to, if you want to save the time to type, since we have a large text from here, if you want to save the time to type it, you just want to have some text to work on, it doesn't give you such a function. If you press Control, click again, access the context menu, you will see there is a function called fill with placeholder text. Inset. That's the inset. If you on all margins, if you click the fill with placeholder text, and see it will give you a lot of text. Those are, let's say, let's change the view percentage to 200%. Now you can see those are the text InDesign gave it to you for you to work on. It's meaningless. There's totally no meaning with those texts. You just have those texts to occupy those places so that you can work on it. Now again, let me make this text larger so that you can look at the text. When you look at the text, there is this is the period. Those are the letters. There's comma, hyphen, all the letters, the symbols or letters that you can see. However, there's also something that you can't really see by looking at the document right now. Those are called heading characters. Heading characters are very powerful. Even though you can't see it right now, it regulates your documents. So sometimes when you are working on a very complicated document, you want to see those heading characters so that you can really work on them. How do we see the heading characters? You put your cursor in the middle of the text and then press Command, let's see, Command Option I. Yes, Command Option I. Press it again, then the heading character will be gone. Now see, if I press Command Option I, let me make it larger. 400% right now. Did you see the dots? So the dots are the heading characters for the spacebar. Every time you press the spacebar, In a normal situation, you will not see anything, but actually there's a dot over here. Did you see the dot? How do you place the text into the text box, right? You put your cursor in the middle of the text frame, and press Control, click, call out the context menu, and find out the field with placeholder text. Field with placeholder text. Now you can press Command Option I, call out the heading characters. If you can't see it, Command 4 enlarge the percentage so you will see the heading characters. You already see that. If you need to select anything, just press Command Option I. Press them at the same time. So you can see we have 5 types of heading characters. This dot for spacebar, this is the one type of the heading characters. And if you go down to here, you will see this. This is a hard return heading character. This is the heading character for hard return. What does a hard return mean? A hard return defines a paragraph. You can also create a soft return. For example, I put my cursor here, press Shift, hit return. Press and hold Shift and then press return. I created a soft return here. A soft return breaks a line into 2 lines, but it doesn't define a paragraph. So only a hard return defines a paragraph. Recall that here we have a paragraph formatting tool and a character formatting tool. A paragraph formatting tool, when you apply it, it will apply to the whole paragraph. What defines a paragraph? Any text between 2 hard return symbols. So anything from here to here will be considered as one paragraph. Now this soft return, does it break this paragraph into 2 paragraphs? No. Soft return break a line into 2 lines, but InDesign still consider this from here to here as one paragraph. Okay, so we talked about the 3 heading characters so far: spacebar, hard return, soft return, and there's also a end of story. And we can't see it because we have overset text. If you click this overset text, get it out, you will see that at the end of the story, there's an end of story heading character. Did you see it here? Like a pound sign. That's the end of story heading character. And we also have another heading character, which is the tab sign. So let's say if I put my cursor here, press tab. Normally you will see nothing over there. Right now you can see there's a tab sign over there, right? Press again, there's 2 tab signs. So we have 5 types of heading characters. Now, when you try to arrange the text into magazines or newspapers, many times you want to create a raised cap or drop cap. How do we do that? How do we make that happen? I know some of you work in the newspaper. Did you use a raised cap or drop cap? You forget how to do it, right? Do you remember? No. You don't remember? Okay. Do you know what is a raised cap or drop cap? You don't remember? Let's make it happen so you will see. To make it beautiful, normally the first letter in the paragraph you can make it a raised cap or dropped cap. A raised cap is a character function. A character function, okay? So which means you select the letter and you increase the size. How do you increase the size? You can press Shift Command greater than, increase the size, or you can set up the size simply by selecting a size from here. And if you want, you can give it a color. That's a raised cap. If you want to raise Shift Command and hold Shift and Command and then press greater than. Press greater than. Or option. Oh no. Let me see. How did I do it? Yes. Hold Shift and a Command and then press greater than. Should be. Greater than, not arrow key. Greater than, not the arrow key, okay? The greater than key, not the arrow key. So if you want to have 2, you can select 2 letters. Again, raised cap is a character function, so you have to select the letter to make it happen. If you want to change your color, you can go to swatch and give it a color. Now, if you want to make a drop cap is a paragraph function, so you do not need to select any letter. Simply put your cursor anywhere in the paragraph. You can put it here, you can put it here, anywhere in the paragraph. And then go to paragraph formatting tool, because it is a paragraph function, right? Go to paragraph formatting tool, and you will see here, this is the drop cap number of lines. It tells you how many lines you want a letter to drop. Let's give it 1 line. 1 line means nothing. 2 lines. You see the letter dropped 2 lines for 2 lines, right? 3 lines. 4 lines. Your choice. Normally, it should be 2 lines. You can also look at here. Here, this cell lets you to choose how many letters you want to drop. Now it's 1, so we only have 1 letter to drop. I want 2 letters, 3 letters, 4 letters, 5 letters. You can choose the first word, or you can just choose the first letter. Normally, we just choose the first letter. That's a raised cap and dropped cap. And now let's talk about the hyphen. We're going to turn off the heading character so far. So again, Command Option I. We're going to turn off the hyphens. But look at the text. We have a lot of hyphens here, right? We have a hyphen here. We have a hyphen here. We have a hyphen here. Someone doesn't care about it. Sometimes some readers hate to see those hyphens. Oh, I got that situation. One reader of my letter said that, Dr. Yo, can you please take off those hyphens? I really hate to see the words are broken into lines. How do you do it? You select the document, go to here, the menu here, click it, go to hyphen, and now it's checked. By default, this thing is checked. We're going to uncheck it, click OK. All the hyphen will be gone. So now you don't need to worry about the hyphens, right? Because every hyphen is gone. This type of hyphen, which is automatically generated by InDesign, they are called soft hyphen. Well, sometimes even though you turn off the hyphenation, you still will need to insert a hyphen sometime. You can simply tap the hyphen key to create a hyphen. For example, we can say, let's create a word, semi-truck. Sometimes you want to put a hyphen over here. And then you just hit the hyphen key to create a hyphen over here, semi-truck. You have a hyphen here. This hyphen is called hard hyphen. You insert it over there, it will be there all the time. So it's hard hyphen. We talk about the two hyphen right now so far, right? We talk about the soft hyphen, hard hyphen. There's another type of hyphen called descriptional hyphen. Let's say you turn off the soft hyphen for the whole document, but there's one word you wanted to have a hyphen. And let's use another word as an example. Let's say automobile. Now the automobile, in this case, you do not want it to have a hyphen. But sometimes this word may have the chance to go to the end of the line and be broken. And you want it to have a hyphen in that situation. How do you do it? A soft hyphen will make it happen. But you already turn off the soft hyphen function, right? You already turn off the hyphenation. You do not want to have a hyphen for all the other words. You just want to have a hyphen here. And you do not want to have the hyphen when this word is in the middle of the line. You only want to have a hyphen when the automobile is at the end of the line. You put your cursor here. Huh? Short hyphen. And then you can, in this case, you can insert a descriptional hyphen. You put your cursor here, press Ctrl, and then call out the context menu, insert special character, hyphen and dash, choose discretionary hyphen. Okay, you have a discretional hyphen here. But you say, well, there's nothing happened because the word is in the middle of the line. If you push the word to the end of the line, you see the heaven here, right? The heaven is right now here. And when you get the whole word to the next line, and you can see the heaven disappear again. And the discretionary heaven is just like the soft heaven. But the soft heaven is a function applied to the whole document, or at least the whole paragraph. Discretional heaven is a heaven that you can use for just one word. You can turn off the heaven for the whole document, but just to create a heaven for a one word. You can also create a non-breaking heaven. For example, if I tell you my office phone, which is 409-880-7656. Yeah, this is my office phone. Anytime you have any questions, feel free to call me. When I put my phone in a document, I do not want my phone number to be breaking into two lines. So I can set up I can make a setting to make sure that my office phone the number will be always in the same line. Here, if I just put it this way, I can't guarantee. See, when you push the phone number to the end of the line, it is broken. How can I make sure that it will be always in the same line? Here, I can, instead of using a regular hyphen, I can insert a non-breaking hyphen. So you can press Ctrl again, click, call out insert special character, hyphen, non-breaking hyphen. Here, instead of insert a regular space, I can insert a non-breaking space. To insert a non-breaking space, again you press Ctrl, call out the context menu, insert special character, insert white space, insert white space, go to non-breaking space. A non-breaking space will hold the stuff on both ends of the space always together. So right now, if I push the phone number to the end of the line, see, it's always together, right? Then the phone number is always together. You don't need to worry about the phone number will be broken into two lines. I'm going to delete some of the stuff here and then create a space to talk about more about heaven. Well, you know we have a heaven key. Anytime you push the heaven key, you create a heaven. A hyphen is a short bar. When do you use a hyphen? A hyphen is used within a word, right? When you use two words, construct a new word, then you use a hyphen. And then sometimes you may need a dash. We have two types of dash, a M dash and an N dash. Have you heard about an M dash and an N dash? Which one is longer? M dash is longer. N dash is shorter than M dash, but longer than hyphen. Again, hyphen is used within phone numbers within one word. For example, chicken fillet, they use hyphens, right? That's because that's one word. And then sometimes you may use N dash. For example, Beaumont to Houston. In that case, you use N dash because it connected two words. Sometimes you use M dash because it connected two sentences. For instance, if you say, I'm going to Houston, M dash, you're going to New Orleans, right? You use M dash to connect those two sentences. Again, if you want to press insert a hyphen, you simply press the hyphen key. If you want to create a N dash, you press Option and then dash key. If you want to press M dash, you press Shift Option and then dash key. You look at the length of those three, they're different, right? Okay, remember that. When you want to connect the two sentences, you use M dash. And if you want to connect the two words, you use N dash. When you just want to connect the two parts of the same word, you use a hyphen. Get back to the original view again. Same as Word, InDesign also has a powerful alignment functions. So if you put your cursor in the paragraph, you can see that here is align left. And if you click it, it's align left, align to the middle, align to the right, and then this is justify with last line align left. It's kind of like that. And this is justified with the last line in the middle. Justified with the last line goes to both ends. This is align away from the span. And it's useful when you create a facing page. Right now we do not use that. Normally we just use this align to the left. You can also create some indent. You put your cursor, again, that's a paragraph function. Anytime when you are using a paragraph function, you do not need to select the text. You just put your cursor in the middle of the paragraph, it will be fine. And then you can create an indent. This is left indent. So 2 inch, and that's left indent. If you do not want it, press Command Z, it will go back to the original situation. And then this is first line indent. If you, let's say if you put a 1P, which means 1P car, and it will create a first line indent. And this is last line red indent. If we create a 1P, it will create a last line, but here we clearly do not need the indent. Okay, now again, let's get everything to the original. And then I'm going to ask a question to you. Anyone of you are familiar with APA style? What is APA style? Have you heard about APA style?
Yes, but I forget.
Right, as a American Association of not AP style, APA. AP style is a style used for journalists, right? APA style normally is used when you read academic papers. In the APA style, at the end of the paper, you need to create a reference list. Tell us which sources you have cited in your paper. And that reference list normally goes like one line, and then the second line, normally there's an indent over there. You recall that? How do we create a AP reference list with InDesign? We normally do it this way. We create a left indent. Let's say we create a left indent 1P. And then first line, we create a negative 1p. And this is the AP style, right? Do you notice? AP style reference list normally looks like this. Okay, that's the indent. This is also called Hanyi indent. There's one more function we want to mention. If you look at the whole copy, you see, well, this part is too ragged. It's not smooth. You want to make it smooth. What you can do is that you can, let's say, we can select the whole text. Put your cursor somewhere in here. Click once. You finally select the word, right? Click 3 times. You finally select the whole line. Click 4 times, you select the whole paragraph. And then click 5 times, you select the whole text. And then let's go to the menu here on the top on the paragraph formatting tool here. Go to balance reg lines. And you see here the red side get a little bit more smooth. If you undo it, it will look like the original. And if you balance it again, it will make it a little bit more smooth. Did you see the difference here? So that's a function that you want to remember. Let's say in the text somewhere you want to type a 1 inch. And when you type a quotation mark, by default it will look like this. This does not look like an inch mark, right? An inch mark is supposed to be a up straight quotation mark. So in that case, the textbook said that this kind of a curvy quotation mark is called a typographer's quotation mark. By default, InDesign use this typographer's quotation mark. But you can also change it into a typewriter's quotation mark. When we do it is that see if you can use press Ctrl, insert special character, and quotation marks, single left quotation mark, or single right quotation mark, double. This should be double right quotation mark. Okay. It doesn't work. Maybe you want to go to the glyph. Maybe we can find the see if we can find it from glyph. Yes, here in glyph you can find the one, and that's a what we call a typewriter's quotation mark. So remember that typographer's quotation mark cannot be used as the inch mark or the foot mark. If you want to insert a inch mark or foot mark, it has to be a typewriter's quotation mark, a upright quotation mark. Two more things. One is a function what we call Han punctuation. So let's get the document to the original set again. Select the whole text. And we go to tab, story, here we can choose. You see there's a cell here. You can check optical margin alignment or uncheck it. Let's check it. You see it make a little bit of difference. If the purpose of this is that it can make the quotation mark closer to the text. If you uncheck it, you see the space between the letters are more spacious. It's your choice whether or not you want to use this. Sometimes people, when you have more text, less space, you want to use this optical margin alignment to make it more beautiful. Okay, that's the function you want to remember. What we call Hom punctuations. Lastly, last thing we're going to talk about today. Let me read a formula. See if you can still remember it. Okay. What is this? Anybody still remember this formula? What do we call it? We call it a markup. And what does it mean? Come on, talk to your neighbors. Try to find out what does it mean. I think it's quite simple. We talked about this in the first week, I guess. And if you are too far from your neighbors, you can call. Make a cell phone call.
It means
We have cell phone.
14 point, and 23 picos.
Yeah, 12 point is what?
The first one? Oh. 12 point, 14 point.
Right. What should be the 12 point? Should it be the font size? Huh?
The font?
The font size, right. 12 means the font size should be 12 point. What is the 24 means? Yes, the leading. Clearly, we don't need 24, right? I mean to read 14. But you can put 24 as the leading value. The leading value is also point. So that means 14. The leading value should be 14 point. What does the 25 means here? Huh? Pickup. Right. 25 means 25 pickup. But what's that for? That's the length of the line. And we call it line measure. Okay. Now we have let me shrink this thing a little bit, create another text frame here with the same size. Command B. Okay, convert it into a text frame first, and then Command B, call out the text frame function, set inset 0.125 inch, should be fine. Number of columns, let's set it in as 2 number of columns, okay? And then fill with some text holder, placeholder text, control, fill with placeholder text. Okay, I created something like this. Look at it here. This is the article, and this is the article. Let's say this is the article 1, this is article 2. Which article do you think it will be easier for you to read? This is Article 1. This is Article 2. You said 2? Any other answers? Who else want to say? Huh? You want to read Article 1? Okay. Any other answers? Who prefer both? Raise your hand if you prefer both. Nobody? So what will be your choices? Do you have any choices? You said the second one. Other answers?
I would do 2.
You would do 2. Yes, research shows most readers will prefer the second article, simply because it's broken. So again, you just need to read this, and we are used to read this. The first article, the lines are too long, so you have to read this way. We're not really used to read that way. So there's a scientific rule of how long the line measure should be. According to the textbook, the line measure should always be, from the value, it should always be 2 or 2.5 times of the font size. 2 or 2.5 times of the font size, the line measure. Okay, so that means if you are using 12 point as the font size, the line measure should be 2 times would be 24 picos as a line measure, or 2.5 times, which should be how much? 12 times 2.5 should be like 31. Do you have a calculator? 12 times 2.5, 24 plus 7, right?
It's 30.
30. Okay, so that's if the font size is 12 point. If the font size is 100 point, then how much should be the line measure? It should be 200 picos or 2500 picos. Does it make sense to you?
200 or 25? I think it means 200 or 250. Oh.
So anytime the line measure should be 2 times or 2.5 times of the font size. Okay. The textbook also talk about proofreader marks. We're not going to talk about that today. You can look at the proofreader marks. I guess you're very familiar with those proofreader marks, right? Any questions so far? No? Okay. Again, this week we're going to have a chapter project. What we're going to do is that if you have your textbook, you can turn your textbook to page 81. We're going to do this a century of fine woodworking project. We just need to do one project. We're going to do this project Thursday. No matter your, huh?
Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday. Wow, what's wrong with my man? I keep saying Thursday. Yes, Wednesday, right. Wednesday we're going to, not this computer lab, but we're going to computer lab 114. No matter you are in a face session or online session, you can all go to that lab. We have 17 computers over there. What you need to do first is that you need to look at that page. You need to go to www.cngagbrain.com and then search the author's last name, find the course materials of this textbook, and then download 2 things. First, download an instruction. The how to do the project, the step-by-step instruction are all in that instruction. That's a PDF document. So download the instruction first, and then download the template for this the Century of Fine Woodworking project. I want you to personalize the uh, uh, the location and the time. So you need to change the location and the time, right? That means when you submit your chapter project, if the location is still this Oconomowoc Historical Society, then your project will not be accepted. So you need to personalize this location and the time. Not other things, just the location and the time. Does that make sense to you?
And we'll be doing this on Friday.
Wednesday. Wednesday, right? Yes.
And what was the website?
Oh, it's on the textbook. You can go to the textbook. Again, it's www.cngagbrain.com and search RYDBRG. And then click Exploring InDesign CS6. Any other questions? If no, you need to put your name on this small project, export it into PDF, and send it to me.
I exit out of it.
Both of you? Both of you?
No, I don't know.
Send me your name. I know you're here. You are working on that. Send me an email with your name. Okay. What's your name?
Caitlin?
Caitlin. Okay. I remember your name. Just send an email. Remind me.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Will you do the X at the top? Like when you made the X on your page, you made it like cap down or something like that. The A and then there's
The
X.
drop cat, right?
I didn't.
Yes. Hold on a little bit. Let me turn off this